everyone. The hour is about 7:32. We're a couple minutes late in getting started here. This is a regular scheduled Macedonia Council meeting. This is the first meeting of 2018. And at this time, I'd ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Bilkey.
Here.
Ms. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
Ms. Tully. Here. Mr. Ventura.
Here.
Okay, just for the record, just to indicate that all the new board or council members have been duly sworn and are sitting here with the certification from the Board of Election as required. So, just so that the record's reflecting that. At this time, I'm going to call on our city chaplain, Thomas O'Brien, to lead us in prayer and thereafter the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Your Honor. With bowed heads, let us pray. We come together this evening for our first official council meeting of the new year and to welcome our two new city council members. Almighty God, guide our newly elected council members so that they may work together for the common good of our community. Give them the insight to provide the good government that their constituency requires. Bless them and give them the patience to understand that sometimes complex problems that we face and the courage to fight and to initiate and maintain those programs that are needed for the good of our community. In closing, O God of mercy, we ask thy blessing and comfort for our neighbors who may be suffering from mental or physical disabilities. Cheer them and bring them thy blessing of health and happiness. Amen. Amen. And now please face the flag and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain. Have a good night. Drive safely. Okay. I'm sorry?
He wants to stick around.
Oh, he's sticking around, good. Next item on the agenda will be the minutes of our regular meeting of council of December 14th, 2017.
Make a motion accepting the minutes of December 14th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Given that we have two council members that were not a part of that, my recommendation is just abstain on your vote. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Aye.
2 abstentions. Majority carries.
You know, there is a typo in there.
Yeah, that's 6.
2017, 6, it's a lot of years.
Just give me the line that it was on.
Regular meeting, December 14, 2017,
Who's in the
6.
agenda?
So the date,
There's a 6 in there?
yeah.
I have to fix it.
Quick fingers.
I like perfection.
Doesn't hurt.
Like to do it right the first time.
Almost godlike.
Financial report. Acknowledgement and receipt of the financial report dated December 31st, 2017.
Make a motion accepting the financial report of December 31st, 2017.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
2 abstentions. Go with the majority.
They received it. They
Yeah, they
received
received
it.
it, but, okay.
Yeah, they received it.
So you can switch it to an
Yeah.
aye.
Well, they actually were sworn in by that time too, so, although their official date is, I believe, January 1st, right?
Right, they're just acknowledging receipt,
Receipt,
that they
yeah.
received it.
Okay.
That's all the auditors require.
Okay. And the next item on the agenda is a proclamation which I'm going to read about Jocelyn Manufacturing, and here we have with us this evening Brian and his brother Brett, and I want to read this. They are one of the oldest companies of Macedonia. I don't think a lot of people realize that Jocelyn's been around since for the last 70 years, which I think is pretty amazing to be in a community. And the best part about not only being that Jocelyn's been here for 70 years, but, you know, Brian's taken upon himself to be a resident of Macedonia. which I think is even more important, that he also has his business here and he lives here, and so he believes in our community. So
Also spends a lot of money in the community.
and he spends a lot of money. That's true. So I would like to read this at this time, and this is from the Office of the Mayor, Jocelyn Manufacturing Company, Inc. proclamation, and it starts off as, whereas Jocelyn Manufacturing Company is the oldest business in Macedonia celebrating their 70th year anniversary. And whereas Jocelyn Manufacturing is an industrial thermoformer specializing in the design, tooling, and production of plastic components. And whereas this family-owned company was formed in 1946, at which time Jocelyn found its niche in agriculture manufacturing and the tractor seat business for local farmers. Fast forwarding to the early 1970s, and Jocelyn made a progression into plastic. And whereas Jocelyn operations began in a 5,000 square foot facility and over time has expanded to 105,000 square feet. And whereas Jocelyn is currently being run by the third generation of family members, brothers Brett and Brian Jocelyn, and has approximately 40 top-notch employees. Whereas Jocelyn continues to play an important role in maintaining and improving the economic health of our community. Now therefore, I, Mayor Joseph Miglerini, proclaim January 11th, 2018 as Jocelyn Manufacturing Day, and remind our citizens that a successful business is evidence of the independence, initiative, and hard work, and urge all to join me in this salute to the resourcefulness and enterprise of Jocelyn family and the supportive staff. And I will seal it this day and sign it. And I, again, just want to give a lot of accolades to the Jocelyn family, that they obviously built their business here in Macedonia, started here in Macedonia, and continue to stay here in Macedonia. We can't say that about a lot of businesses that have come and gone in our city. They've been here on Valley View. And I wanted to, by the way, and I didn't. I kind of forgot. I was running in and out of the office, but many years ago, must have been 25 years ago, their father brought me a golf ball, and it's got to be this big, and it is the neatest thing you ever want to see. And I held it in my office for many years upstairs, and when I left in 2001, I took it to my other office. But it's really, really neat, and Brian was telling me the other day, they still have that form that they make that golf ball with, so it's pretty cool. You need to see it. And I actually told him, I said, maybe we could join together. I know how to get rid of those golf balls. We'll have them at all the tournaments, and people would want to buy them. I'm sure if they saw them, how neat they are, they're pretty cool. So I'd like to ask you both to come up, and I just want to shake both of your hands and give you this proclamation.
You're not going to have them make a speech?
Hey, you got your speech.
You want to say something about?
Hey, this is your time to
Jocelyn?
shine. Come up to the mic, please.
I guess I'll speak on both our behalf, because Brian's passed. She's older. It's all good now. We're very humbled and honored by this. When Brian told me last week that we were receiving this, the first thing was, who's going to talk? And I said, well, you live there and you know these people, so why don't you talk? And so he said, no, I could come up and do this, but there's a lot of memories here. Growing up as a little boy, I remember driving in. The development across the street was a field. Walmart was a swamp at one point in time. My grandfather owned from our business all the way back to the railroad and all the way down to Highland. Kind of wish he had kept that because I could have used it, but so we have seen the city grow along with our business, and I speak on behalf of Brian and I and my father, who's retired, who's down in Florida now, but we really appreciate this honor, so thank you very much.
Thank you. There was an indication by Brian that he's not quite sure, and maybe some of the historians of our city would know this, but it's either where the old Willow used to be, or across the street where your grandfather had his first store, correct?
It was, I believe, where Dunkin' Donuts is now.
Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, that
Which
used to be
used to be, I forget what
There
was.
was a tavern above that, that's what burned down.
There was a tavern, there was a bakery and a bar, and one of them.
And there was a
burned to the ground.
blacksmith in that building.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
remember, from the pictures, yeah.
One of them burned to the ground and so did the business.
A one-stop shop.
Yeah, we were in the basement at one point in time, and that's what burned to the ground, and then it was my grandfather who actually purchased the property where we're at now and built there, so over the years, he had sold parts of that land, and then my father, who retained ownership of that, sold the rest of it.
So by 1946, there was virtually very little in the Macedonia, by the way. I mean, to think about it.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a long time ago,
Yeah.
so. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
Thank you
very
for being a
much.
part of our community. Okay. There's one more proclamation, and I guess I'll read it unless, Josephine, you want to read it.
Whatever you want, sir.
Your eyesight's better than mine.
This is from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas all children of Macedonia should have access to the highest quality education possible. And whereas Macedonia recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Macedonia to be successful adults. And whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Macedonia. And whereas Macedonia is home to a variety of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children at home. And whereas educational variety not only helps the diversity to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. Whereas Macedonia has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. Whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Joseph Miglerini, Mayor of the City of Macedonia, do hereby recognize January 21st through the 27th, 2018 as Macedonia School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of all our citizens.
Thank you, Josephine. Okay, next item would be election of council officers. And the way this works is that, as it's worked for as many years as I can remember, I will call out for nominations. Nominations can be made, and then we will close, and then we will vote. So at this time, the first nomination would be for council president. Do we have any nominations?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Nick Monar.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the recommendation of Nick Monar to be president of council indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda would be the council vice president.
I make a motion to elect Jan Tully to be the vice president.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Once again, is there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, then all those in favor of Jan Tully being vice president of council indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item is council representative to the Parks and Recs Commission.
I also make a recommendation for Jessica Brandt to be the Parks and Recreation Commission representative.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Once again, any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Jessica Brandt being the representative to the Parks and Recs Commission indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. The next item would be the Finance Chair.
I'll make a recommendation that Mr. Kevin Belke be set for the finance chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Once again, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, then appointing Kevin Bilkey as the Finance Chair. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion's carried. Congratulations to all four of you. And we'll move on to now public comments. I don't have any sheets. Did anybody sign
I'll go
in
get
to
it.
speak?
I'm sorry.
I don't believe anybody did. I'll check.
Tom's right there.
Mrs. Lawyer,
Kathy did, so
You can trust.
come on up, Kat.
can I rescind my nomination?
I forgot, I'm sorry.
You slip it. I'll keep this one.
Okay, thank you.
Can we re-vote on president?
First time.
Good evening and happy 2018. I hope everyone had a great holiday season. My name is Kathy Loy. I live at 9186 North Bedford Road. I'd like to approach council and appeal to the city for additional stormwater improvements on North Bedford Road. It was encouraging and promising to see work this past spring at the southern end of North Bedford, but I would like to see this sort of comprehensive work extended up North Bedford toward Ledge Road. While the city's stormwater improvements downstream have helped our issues a little, we still have issues. These were my opening comments from January 8th, 2015, when I first started approaching City Council again about our stormwater situation at 9186 North Bedford Road. My husband and I, we first started approaching the City Council back in the summer of 2006, when in June of that year our basement completely filled up with water, floor to rafters, approximately 8 feet. Since that time, the only other significant amount of water infiltration to our basement happened in February of 11, when we only had about 3.5 to 4 feet of water. Our property continues to retain stormwater, and our pumps continue to function to keep our basement dry. The damage that we see to our property and our home is real, and only continues to get worse as the time goes on. Stormwater plans and projects are getting attention in the City of Macedonia. NEORSD did their presentation to the City of Macedonia back on October 26, 2017. This is relevant to my property because the City of Macedonia has turned my situation over to them and made it a regional issue for many different reasons. Funding, magnitude of the situation, maybe even tired of hearing about the problem. I will remind this council that regional stormwater issues within city limits are still Macedonia issues. Do not turn your back on decades upon decades of neglect and negligence of these issues and use NEORSD as the scapegoat. I appreciate all the good communication thus far between NEORSD and the City of Macedonia, but the clock is ticking and my husband and I are tired of waiting. We are constantly told to wait for the study to be completed. Well, at this point, which one? The latest and greatest, of course, is the Stormwater Master Plan being done by NEORSD that was started in the summer of 2006. We were all told at their presentation in October that recommendations for construction projects for the Stormwater Master Plan of this area should be completed in the first quarter of 18. These are only recommendations, not action plans, and by no means guarantees that work is actually going to be done. I implore this council and this administration to stay on top of NEORSD regarding the Stormwater Master Plan. The layers and layers of bureaucracy involved with NEORSD is exhausting, and molasses on a cold January day can flow faster. Please stay on this organization since this city no longer wishes to accept responsibility for stormwater in the North Bedford and Ledge area. I think that this is the least that this city can do for my husband and I, as the city refuses to do anything else. There is one question that I have asked on several occasions but never seem to get an answer for. I will ask my question to this council that I sent to the then City Council members on June 13th, 2015. This was in an email, and this is what I said. I said, again, I will ask, how can public entities continue to divert stormwater runoff onto existing home sites without any sort of updated management plan and/or maintenance, knowing the ramifications that private citizens face? Because of stormwater runoff deliberately and purposely routed through our property, FEMA upgraded our floodplain status to an AE flood zone. That would be a high-risk flood zone, back when the maps were redone in 2009. Since then, we've had to have a flood insurance policy on our home in order to carry a mortgage. In a letter dated October 20th, 2017 from FEMA, we were notified of the following. Federal law requires FEMA to provide discounted rates to property owners like you who have been newly mapped into high-risk areas, but also requires flood insurance costs to eventually reflect the higher flood risk shown on the current map. This means you can expect rate increases of approximately 15% per year, not to exceed 18% in any given year. So my husband and I are going to be facing increasing flood insurance costs this summer when we renew our policy, all because of the City of Macedonia has done absolutely nothing to address stormwater in the North Bedford and Ledge area for what's been going on 40 years now. It's a shame, it's shameful and a disgrace that the city continues to pass the buck on to private residents for a situation that this private resident has no hope of ever rectifying. I just have to continue to pay for it. Just as a reminder, some in the city were bailed out of their stormwater situation with no change in their floodplain status and with no additional study of their property. Yet the lawyers are simply told to wait for another study. Documentation of everything that I've cited tonight I gave to Mrs. Arcisi, so that's going to be for the record. All I'm asking of council tonight is that the city keep on NEORSD and get moving with regards to our property. My husband and I have waited over a decade now for solutions, and it's time for some action. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kathy.
Can I ask a question before you leave? When you purchased that property, were you aware of any stormwater issues, or was the previous owner of that home aware of any stormwater issues?
We were, on our disclosure that we received from the property owners, we were told that we had a dry area. We went through litigation because it was very obvious within 2 months of us moving in that they knew. That's all settled way in the past.
So they essentially lied that they knew that there was some type of problem in that home, in that parcel.
That is what we contested, yes.
And the previous owner was Wasniewski, right?
No.
Who was?
The people.
No, there was somebody between Wasniewski. I remember the house back when Wasniewski had it, when the wall caved in.
Right. That was.
I was mayor back then.
He was foreclosed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when that wall caved in, was that disclosed when you purchased the property?
No, because it was a foreclosed property, and we were told that the previous owners didn't need to disclose that to us because it was a foreclosed property that they bought.
Did you have an inspection that would have reflected that?
We had an inspection, but they never picked up on that.
They didn't catch it?
The basement was finished, so the inspectors won't take off drywall to look at walls, so.
Yeah, the majority of our basement was finished when we purchased the home.
Yeah. I remember when the wall caved in.
Yeah.
That many years ago. But one thing I wanted to point out to you is that even the designation of wetlands doesn't even go away if the problem's corrected. Because once you're in a defined flood zone, until FEMA either comes out and classifies it, you still wind up paying that insurance. I pay that insurance at Center Point Plaza, believe it or not, and that building is over 2 inches over the flood zone. But nevertheless, they require me to maintain that insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never flooded, ever, but yet I still have to carry insurance.
And I don't see with these recent hurricanes and monies and budgets of FEMA, I don't ever see our flood status being changed because they need the money.
Right. So I just mentioned that too because it's going to be an act of them changing it before they will ever stop. Even if the problem's rectified, they're still going to charge you. That's the problem.
Well, I agree. We are a high flood risk area.
Yeah.
The problem is my house is sitting in the middle of it, and our problem has only been getting worse and worse and worse ever since we moved in 2005.
Yeah. You know, if we could clean the slate clean, we would probably raise these properties up 3 or 4 feet above where they're at right now. In many instances, when you go up to the Highland Homes and you look at streets that are sitting up higher than where the houses are, and they're sitting lower, is what I'm saying. That creates a reverse effect immediately, pushes the water back towards the homes. We have a lot of homes that are in our town that were built without topographies, without having a site plan to show what elevation that house should be set at before they built it. And that was before they had topo review and before they had good engineering. So, and your house was one of those homes.
Sure, it's an older home, it's an
It's
older section of home
It happened
area.
at a time probably when we were still I don't say a township, but we were probably still acting as a village with county oversight on the building and what have you. So there was a lot of things back in those days that just weren't getting done. I mean, I can tell you, even up to 2001, this is pretty remarkable. In 2001, when I became the Director of Development for Summit County, the county's building department did not have topo review. You were not required to provide a topo. And yet our building department were taking in like $12,000 to $15,000 a day in permits throughout the entire county. The first encounter I had, I got called out to the Copley area, and I got there and I started looking at these elevations of these houses, and I go, where's the topo? They go, what topo? I go, well, the topo that designed this subdivision. They go, there is no topo. They're not required to give one. I said, so the house is sitting here and the other house is sitting here. Why do you think in the world they would be complaining about water down here?
Right.
Because there was just no elevation to follow, and that's exactly what happened in many of the older subdivisions throughout our community.
We just feel like we continue to get more and more and more water from
Yeah.
areas that are developed upstream.
Well, there's no question about it. I think we are getting more water. I mean, I think that what ODOT did up on 271 pushes more
Agreed.
water our way.
Agreed.
And, I know that study in part from NERSD is to figure out ways of putting retention between Ledge and North Bedford all the way back to 4E. And how do we hold it back over there so that you don't get the inundation down here?
Well, thankfully, I have a good speaking relationship with Rachel Webb, who was the one that gave the presentation and is kind of in charge of that master plan. So she's been, I've been able to be very candid with her about our situation. It's just, we just can't do this for very much longer. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
well,
It's exhausting.
I know that is our priority to get. There is no other project that is of a higher priority on the books right now. I mean, we have Guadalupe retention basin, yes, but outside of that, your North Bedford ledge retention is a high priority for us. I mean, Joe and I talk about it all the time, trying to figure out ways. I mean, I even thought that we should build a retention basin on the preserve area that we have there.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we had to pump it and redirect that flow line and push it further back behind you and then bring it way in the back and then circle it around to the outlet, at least that water would not have the ability to crawl over that wall onto your property. Because if you moved it way back, let it spill over way back. And so we had thought about that, and the only issue that we were coming up with if we were to build a retention there would be that we may have to pump it because it would be too low. So that was a concern, but I said, well, the service department could go out there and check it every time we got a rain, and if the pump's working and fine, they can discharge it off of there and what have you. But it's something that we've been talking about.
And I appreciate that very much. I think everybody agrees that our little area does a great job of retaining water. The only problem
Yeah.
is that we live there.
Yeah, I hear you.
We're still there.
Okay.
So, thank you very much for your time.
Kathy. All right. Okay, any other public comments? I don't have any.
No, there was no.
Any on the list here, but next is pending legislation. Ordinance number 110, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 110, 2017 for its second reading by title only, please.
No, wrong thing. An emergency ordinance amending sections 18201B, 18203, and 18204A of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, in order to increase the city's income tax rate by 1/4%, starting July 1, 2018, and continuing thereafter, and submitting the same to electors on May 8th, 2018.
Okay. All right, next item is...
I got some questions I
Okay.
want to ask on this. The biggest question I had was, I just want to clarify with Ms. Hall that the levy was going to bring in, if passed, about 1.5 million, separated amongst the three departments, 550 to the police and fire, around 480 to the service.
470.
470, that's what I wrote down, actually. So my question is to the directors, and I know Chief Black's not here, but I don't expect you guys to answer. I'm not putting you on the spot tonight, but for the next council meeting, I'd like to know what you plan on doing with that increase of money and how it would benefit the city moving forward. So if you think that hiring 3 more guys to complete more projects, list what those projects are. I think it would help pass this thing if we knew exactly what this money was going to be used for, and not just given to you in good faith. And same thing with you, Chief Golden. If you know kind of what you have planned for this, you know, it would be great to hear. So I'd like to hear what the next, before we vote on it, if that's okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, next item is ordinance number 1, 2018.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance 1-218 for its first reading only, by title only.
Second, and I guess we don't have to second it.
Don't give me a second. An ordinance amending section 35117 and section 35118 regarding emergency parking ban.
Next item is ordinance number 2.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to offer ordinance number 2, 2018 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance providing submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to section 3.03 of the charter relative to the mayor's legislative powers.
Ordinance number 3.
And I would like to offer ordinance number 3, 2018 for its first read by title only.
An ordinance providing for submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia proposed amendment to sections 401 and 402 of the charter relative to legislative authority and composition of council.
Okay, ordinance number 4.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 4, 2018 for first reading title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia proposed amendment to section 413 of the charter relative to the conduct of council members.
And last one, I'll offer ordinance number 5, 2018 for first reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia proposed amendment to section, that should be 1001, of the charter regarding the composition of planning and the zoning commission.
And before we move on, I just want to, anyone watching or can read this, please. We'd like to hear your comments. That's why we're leaving that first read. There's some changes that we'd like to see made, but we want to know what you guys feel about them. So before we'd like to vote, come up here and visit us. Every other Thursday, first, second, and fourth every month.
Second and fourth. Not every other.
All right, thank you. Resolution number 6.
Before I hit number 6, to piggyback on what Mr. Bilkey said, these are charter amendments that we're proposing. Mrs. Tully had proposed in our work session that maybe we hold a mini charter commission to review these so that we have council, representatives that would review those things, and I think that's something that we're going to look into moving forward. So just to clarify what our intentions were. Before I read resolution number 6, this is obviously one to pave some roads. I wanted to list the roads because they're not in the resolution, and I didn't know what part they were, so I'm going to name those roads prior to you reading it, which are Driftwood, Brookdale, Meadowlawn, Thistle Ridge, Fox Hill, Stonebridge, Eileen, and Gloria. And with that, I offer resolution number 6 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to prepare plans, bids, and specifications, and further authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for various roadway improvement projects.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
I move that we pass and post according to law resolution number 6, 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And again, is there any questions by council? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And we hope to have this out for bid tomorrow and then opening by February 2nd. So we'll have it back to council by the next February meeting for consideration for the first contract. And by that meeting as well, we should have the second group of streets that are going to be paved before council for the same resolution as we've just passed tonight. Okay, next item would be resolution number 7.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer resolution number 7, 2018, for its first, second, and third readings by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried.
A resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Jeremy D. Benedictus to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Okay, further reading.
I move to adopt resolution number 7, 2018, and post the same according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda will be resolution number 8.
Mr. Mayor, I present Resolution 8, 2018, for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt.
Oh, I just have to
No,
read it.
I'm sorry.
A resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Nate Falkenstein to the Macedonia Civil Service Commission.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution number 8, 2018, and post the same according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Are there any other motions or other legislative actions to come before council? Okay, hearing none. Correspondence, are there any?
I do, sir. And this was really meant, Mr. Benjamin, Barb Benjamin of Shoshone Trail, had sent it in last month, but it was stuck in some papers, so I'm reading it now. So I bear the burden of not reading it last month. Dear Mayor Miglerini, in this hurried and busy world that we live in, we most often fail to say thank you for helping me. We so quickly accept help, yet we never say I appreciate what you did for me, and this is the reason I write this letter to you. I want to recognize the Macedonia Service Department managed by John Nadavenge for doing an exceptional job working tirelessly 7 days a week, to not only pick up leaves, but to make many passes down streets to grind up all the trees that were lost in the November windstorm, which affected most Macedonia residences. Even though the service department employees were focused on doing their job of the day, there were some who went out of their way to help others in need. I was one of those Macedonia seniors who was trying to manhandle a large root-bound tree trunk to the road. The guys who were going by my house saw my predicament, stopped their truck, and asked if they could give me a hand, which I responded absolutely. I want to acknowledge and share this special thank you to Michael DeBrowse, John Mansell, Nick Harper, Jermaine Little, and Jim Woodell. Without their help, the tree stump would be more than likely still blocking part of my driveway. Regards, Bart Benjamin.
Good job, guys.
Was that John Manziel? Did I hear that
Johnny
right?
Manziel.
We hired Johnny Manziel? Wow.
John
I must have got really bad.
Mansell? Did I pronounce
Is
that
that,
correctly?
you said Johnny Manziel. Did he come back to the
Manziel?
Browns?
Mansell? Mansell?
Okay. Any other correspondence? Okay, then
No, sir.
otherwise, we're gonna move on to mayor's reports, and I just got a few items to talk about. One is that, you know, NOPEC announced that there's going to be some grants available for the next 3 years, and Macedonia is going to get an average of about $45,000 for each of the 3 years moving forward. Since we have been talking about lighting the ball fields at Longwood Manor, I want to earmark that $45,000 for the next 3 years to light and get one of those ball fields lit. Now, you know, when we talk about having money or not having money, we obviously have never had a lot of money in our parks to do a whole lot of things. You know, last year we were able to build the dugouts. We used money from that was generated within the parks that had to be used in the parks, and we built obviously the dugouts last year. And this year coming up to rebuild some of the ball fields and to get lighting on would be a real big plus for our community. That way we could have some night tournaments and could generate some dollars as well for the parks. So I'm excited about the fact that we are going to be a recipient of grant monies from NOPEC. Now, what that means is that our community will stay in NOPEC. You know, why would you want to opt out of NOPEC? I mean, it's a great organization. It's saved residents in Northeast Ohio over $250 million in savings of discounted rates. And Jan is our representative on NOPEC, but she's shortly going to be stepping down here. And Nick will be stepping on to the board of the NOPEC regular board into the future here. So the organization does what it's supposed to do. It started off with $0 in its coffers, and today it's getting close to around $50 million so that NOPEC can become a certified retail what we call a CREST, a certified retail electric supplier, which is something we've always wanted to be into the future, because that would minimize or put us in a position, I should say, not minimize, but put NOPEC in a position where it would have a stronger say in how they bought their electricity and how they buy their gas, and we would be able to cut out all the middlemen and send that savings on to all the residents in Northeast Ohio. So anyhow, it's a great organization. It's still there. It's still working. It's the only arm out there in this industry that saves you, the residents throughout Northeast Ohio, to challenge anything that the utility companies are trying to do. They have the best game in town. That meter's ticking 24/7, and they're making lots of money on utilities. And NOPEC makes sure that they are there when there's a rate increase, either it's before the PUCO, the Ohio Consumer Council calls on NOPEC to ask them to come in and testify and support their position so that the rates don't go off the charts. So we do what we are supposed to do at that level, and I thank you, Jan, for serving on the NOPEC board since I got off of the public side. I am still the chairman on the NOPEC Inc. side, and Nick now will go on, and not only will he be Macedonia's representative, but he will also be the Summit County representative. So with that, I wanted to talk about the restroom, veterans restroom at our Veterans Memorial Park. We have a set of plans, and we hope to move forward very shortly and start cutting in the foundation for the restrooms over there. I today got a phone call from the county. I had asked them to waive the $2,300 to $2,500 fee for the sewer permit. They said that they couldn't waive the fee to the city by the fact that it's under legislation the way it is, but they're going to give us a grant in the same amount. So what we'll do is we'll take the grant, and we won't have to pay that fee, and it'll go to the city and under the name of the Veterans Memorial, and that way the fee for the sewers will be paid for. We're excited about getting that started, getting those restrooms in, and then also starting the last phase this spring to get the balance of Memorial Park completed. I think it's a real jewel in the center of town, and I'm proud of everybody that's taking part of making it a happening. The restrooms at our Parks and our recreation facility, we had a meeting today with the architect, and our plans are just about 80% complete, and we're going to start to build that as soon as those plans are 100% complete. We want to get the foundation in and get that building up, and then build the new locker rooms, and then tear out the old men's locker room, and then transfer the women over to the new section. It's going to take a little bit of a process and phasing of how we get that all done, but it's going to be exciting because the restrooms are and locker rooms are going to be state-of-the-art. So they'll look just like Lifetime. If anybody's a member at Lifetime over in Beechwood, they're going to be as pretty and as nice as those over there. So we're working really hard to get that completed, and hopefully as soon as those plans are done, we'll get started. Let's see here. I want to remind everybody that obviously tonight we're calling for a storm to come in between tonight and tomorrow and into Saturday. So everybody should be aware that they need flashlights. They should make sure they got plenty of water and food in their homes. If this storm is as bad as what they're claiming it to be, I would recommend that people stay in their homes. Don't go out onto the streets if you don't have to. The streets are going to be hard enough for people to get around, and our service department is getting ready for this storm, and hopefully it's going to be minimal, even though they say it's going to be, what, about 12 inches of snow. Yeah, so we're really concerned if 12 inches of snow fall on us in Northeast Ohio here, we're going to be paralyzed for a few days. So
A few hours.
few hours, that's it, oh, okay. You from Montana?
Get your sled ready.
I don't know. The last time we got caught with that storm that came through, we were fairly prepared, but this time hopefully we're going to be much better off than we were the last time. So, with that, I have no other mayor's reports. Do we have any committee reports?
Yes, Mayor, the JED will meet on Thursday, January 25th. Effective as of today, will not be on that board anymore. Mr. Ventura will be taking my position on that board.
And I am still a member. It's a two-person team.
Correct. I was getting to you, sir, but you cut me.
Sorry, Nick.
And Mr. Bilkey as well.
Okay, any other committee reports, department reports, John?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, no.
From the storm that we received on January 8th, everyone has been getting notices at their home with the rubbish provider that they're operating on a one-day delay. Have been notified today they have caught up with rubbish collection only, and tomorrow will be their normal regular pickup for Friday pickups. The recycling is still down a day. They're going to try and do their best to catch up by tomorrow. If not, weather permitting, they will be out Saturday to complete the recycling collection, and then they'll be back on track. As Mayor mentioned, the winter storm that's coming in, we are under an advisory. First will come in rain, then we'll turn to freezing rain and sleet, where we can get about 1/10 of an inch of ice on the roads, and then we'll turn to snow. They're predicting anywhere from 6 to 12 inches for our area that we can get. The mayor mentioned, please, if you don't have to leave your house, don't leave the streets open for our crews to be working. We will have 9 trucks available for plowing, and one of them is also our de-icing truck that we have operational again that we will try to utilize as well before the snow comes, so we can try to keep the ice off the road as best we can. And with that also comes mailboxes. We get calls constantly to our office. Trucks have hit our mailbox and knocked it down. We do not replace mailboxes if we have not physically hit them with our plow. 2 days ago, somebody actually called and said, your plow truck hit my mailbox last night. And I found that hard to believe because we had no trucks out on the road that night. There was no weather out there. So please, you just make sure they're secured. Check your screws to the mailbox. Sometimes they get rusted. The wood that you have gets rotted away. You secure your own mailbox. We come out and look at it, but if we do not physically hit the mailbox, we are not liable for what comes off of our plow. And that's all I have.
I have a question for the service department. Sure. John, did you say that people were notified about the delay in the garbage pickup?
Yeah, Republic was sending out a automated message to homes, to the phones for our customers. I think they were notifying like the day before their pickup, that notifying customers that there was a delay in the rubbish pickup schedule.
But they're back on schedule for tomorrow.
Okay.
Just for the rubbish only. Recycle is still a day behind yet, and they're going to try and catch up by tomorrow with that.
Chief, maybe you can throw it out on the next logo.
Yeah, that's where I would have looked
They're
for
sending
it.
voice automated calls out to homes, to all the customers.
I don't know that they came this.
I didn't get the call. And
I didn't get a call.
I didn't get the call either.
My administrative assistant got the call in the afternoon for that day when the garbage was picked up, so they're behind on their calls. So,
And I have a question. I don't know if this is for you, police, but what are the regulations for parking during snow in Macedonia?
well, I was gonna, in my short little report, I was gonna say the mayor may have to issue a parking ban with the snow coming. It's just gonna be easier if everybody just stays off the road, doesn't park in the street. Let John's crews get the whole street instead of having to go around, park cars, whatever. It's just gonna be better if nobody parks on the street from Friday afternoonish through Saturday morning, probably. Is that gonna be about it?
Saturday afternoon for it to be stopped.
So
There'll be a
we may have to
nixle
issue
for
a
that.
parking ban, and
You'll nixle that, right?
we will definitely nixle
Well,
that.
plus you
yes.
want to be able to salt before
Right.
there's going to be ice too, so it's not just a matter of how deep the snow is. We just want everyone to be cognizant of that when you're parking on Friday in the evening.
All right, Joe?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks to council for passing the authorization to proceed for the first part of the road program this year. We've already talked about the schedule for that moving forward, so I won't bother repeating that. And just one announcement to make, a little bit of good news. Through Cleveland Water Department and their funding program, Macedonia has been fully grant funded for water main improvements on two streets, Robin Lane and Shepherd Hills Boulevard. Shepherd Hills, that's the eastern half of the road, or the older section of Shepherd Hills Boulevard. So we're excited about that. And here in the near future, we'll be bringing legislation forward for authorization to proceed on those two water main projects. And then those two water main projects would obviously precede any paving that we would do on those two roads.
Very good. Is that work done in the road? Is that correct? By Cleveland Water? For the water main?
Some of it is, and some of it's in tree lawn areas, if that's your question.
Well, I hate to be negative, but I've seen their repair work. Is there something in the contract that's going to show that that needs to be?
No. Cleveland Water has provided the funding. The
Oh,
city,
okay.
Under our usual procedures, will design, bid, and administer the contract.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Good question.
That's very important.
Now I know where you were going with that. That's all I have.
Well, anyone who drives down Highland Road and hits the bump, that's a Cleveland Water.
They leave their mark everywhere.
Project.
Angela?
Thank you. We started off with a great beginning to 2018. We recently announced some changes at the rec center, including free fitness group classes, which are now included with all memberships, daily passes, and monthly memberships. We are now offering monthly memberships year-round. We're offering active military and veteran discounts for those residents that applies to. And as the mayor had mentioned, we're moving along with all of our plans for the new construction of men's and women's locker rooms, as well as brand new family changing facilities. So lots of exciting changes happening at the rec center. They've been received extremely well thus far. I think the first 9 days of this month, we did about $27,000 worth of membership sales. So we're very excited about that beginning to this new year. If you haven't been to the rec center in a while or haven't been a member with us in quite a while, we do now offer free 5-day trial passes. So you can come in and you don't physically need anything to redeem. We can look up and make sure that you have not redeemed that in the last 12 months, and you can take advantage of a free 5-day trial pass to see if we are someone you would like to become a member with. So just wanted to make those announcements. I also wanted to thank Kevin for all of his time and his contributions that he has put forth on the Parks and Rec Commission in the last few years. I really enjoyed working together, and I'm excited and looking forward to working with Jessica in the next year. Thanks. And that's all I have. Thank you.
I have one question for, if you don't mind. Are we able to register yet under the Optum program that
Yes.
the insurance company has?
Yes, you are.
Okay, that's,
Yep, we have that up and running at our front desk. So we have a new insurance program that we contracted with for 2018. So we do contract with 3 separate companies now. The one who offers Silver and Fit, one Silver and Sneakers, and now there's a third called Optum. And we do have portals set up at the front desk for all 3 of those where people can come in and provide information, usually a name, a birth date, and our front desk staff can look that person up to see if they qualify for any 3 of those programs. And their health insurance essentially foots the bill for their membership. So yes, Optum is a new one this year, and we are equipped to get you signed up.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Rhonda.
Thank you, Mayor. So we closed the year 2017. We did that a couple days ago, so we were able to get the budget for 2018 up and running in our system. We ended the year for the general fund, unfortunately, on a decline. We started the year at $1,792,457. We ended the year with a cash balance of $1,552,649. So it's a decrease of $239,808. We'll just have to try to be a little bit more vigilant, but I'd say we did pretty good considering all the costs that we're having to expend this year for things to get fixed, new purchases. So we should be okay for next year. I wanted to let everybody know that Mark Guidetti and I had a conference call with the Regional Income Tax Agency today. They approved the form. We've still tweaked it a little bit more. I have a copy, but I don't want to really pass it out because with the tweaks that we've done, I want to make sure that they approve these as well for the policies and procedures. But for the most part, it's more of a questionnaire than it is an application. There's no calculations that the individual has to create. It's just a questionnaire. Unfortunately, Rita will not be able to help us as much as we were hoping that they would. They are going to be creating a calculator tool for us to use, however, to calculate what you paid in. We have to use the information off of the Rita website using your W-2, enter the information manually to calculate what the return or the refund would be, if anything. So we'll be working on that as they start coming in. But we'll get this, once Rita approves this final application, we will definitely get this up and running on the website, and I'll hopefully have some better news that it's up there for you to see at next council. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tim?
Yes, Mayor, we closed out 2017 with 3,625 calls. 1,701 were here in Macedonia. Sagamore Hills had 1,224. Northfield Center had 609, bringing that total to the 3,625. Out of that, there was 3,083 EMS calls to include 193 motor vehicle crashes. 542 fire calls to include 76 CO calls inside that. So quite a busy year for us. And that's all I have.
How about the building?
The building, off mind, I think we brought in 329,000. Northfield Center brought in 168,000, and Sagamore Hills brought in 270,000, round numbers. So then you have to minus out the 7% collection fees and the fair monies that we get for the 10%.
Thank you.
Just that we hope everybody stays off the street. It's going to be somewhat treacherous on Friday with the snow and the ice and everything coming. And don't park on the street so John Screws can clear things up a lot faster. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mark, you have anything?
Yeah, the city will be joining in a number of other political subdivisions in the county in a lawsuit against several opioid manufacturers. This has been a trend across the country, and there will be several named pharmaceutical companies as defendants, and I will be providing council with a full update on the claims and the defendants.
That's the one that the whole county, so, okay.
Yeah.
Do we need legislation to enact that?
No, the firm that will be handling it is doing it for no retainer, so there's no cost to the city.
That's important.
How great is that? When have you ever been represented in an action that you don't have to pay for? That's pretty good.
There's got to be some benefit going their way.
Well, hey, you know, the settlement against the manufacturers is going to be huge. You know.
More importantly, it may help people save lives.
Well, of course.
And keep their lives.
Yeah, further
Forget
restrict
the
the
money.
distribution of the opiates is the goal,
Can we ask Patrick to talk about?
Yeah. Hey,
the
Patrick,
screens?
would you like to step out from behind that door there like Mr. Oz?
That's the wizard.
Yeah.
Introducing Patrick.
Ignore that man behind the curtain.
I'm sorry, I was busy with the camera. What am I talking about?
Well, they would like for you to talk about the two TV monitors that we now have up and what they're for and why we put them up.
Right now, we're working on a wireless solution so that we don't have to run a cable through the ceiling and then refinish the council chambers. What we're going to do is basically duplicate high definition signal to both of these TVs. We'll have the ability to play EMS calls, any videos that we produce, any drone footage that the city captures. Also, we planned on putting anything that in our planning department, in our planning meetings up there that people want to display, not just on the table anymore, but they can display it on each of the walls so people can have better visibility of what they're seeing.
And the BZA board as well. So
Yes.
that any plans that are submitted can be displayed up there, can be seen then by the audience a lot better than just looking down a table. So we'll have visuals now. Actually, it's very interesting. If you come into our staff meetings, Patrick has on the screen in the office, in the conference room rather, anything that we're talking about goes up on that screen. So any site in the city, so you know we use that day in and day out. It's a very good tool to have. It gives everybody a better understanding of where the location is. We have aerial shots of it. We can show where the buildings are, where the problems may be, or whatever the case is. So this would be a very helpful tool for the Planning Commission and BZA. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else, Mark, did you have? That's right. All right. Any unfinished business?
I just want to reiterate what the chief wasn't here when I was talking before. We were talking about the proposed levy, and you know, from what we gathered, I guess it'd be an extra $150,000 that the fire department would be receiving if it passed. I asked the other directors, what would you be using that money for? And by the next council meeting, it's not to put you on the spot, and how would it better fit the city? You know, if you can give us just a brief detail of something, you know, from now and, you know, for 5 years. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other unfinished business?
Yeah, I'm sorry it slipped my mind, Mayor, but Joe, I got a call on you again, Gelati. When we start this paving season, now last year we had some difficult questions that have come up from people, whether it be through the internet, Facebook, whatever. But can we make sure and put it into the bid package this year that we not only tell them an estimation of when we will be paving their road, but how we will be paving their road? And I mean, we need to be explicit, because I think if we put it out there ahead of time, we can try to knock down some of the people that, may think that we're taking the cheaper alternative. Because I know Mr. Bilkey and I know the mayor and Jan dealt with that a lot last year, where we're trying to explain to them how the process works, how it's an ODOT standard, how it's not the cheapest practice out there, and what we're doing to correct the problems. So can we put that into the bid package?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can control the message ourselves through mailings or letter droppings to the residents. And to your point, of course, we did a mailing to all the affected residents last year. I think we can expand on that mailing or that letter, give more detail as to the steps involved in the process, and also provide some information regarding drive aprons and the gravel berm installation as well. I know those questions came up last year, so that's certainly what we intend to do. The more information, the better. I would agree.
I mean, I'd rather over-communicate than not, because, again, I don't want to have to deal with, well, you guys took the cheap route, my road's a piece of junk, and that's not the case, and we know that.
You're exactly right. Believe me, it's not the cheap
So will that be something that your firm will do, or is that something that I know from the experience in the industry that sometimes the contractor handles that, which
Yeah,
is
my
not
preference
reliable.
is that we, myself, John, the mayor, we as a city handle the message to our residents as opposed to relying on our contractor. I think that the communication to our residents should come from us. I guess that's my preference.
In addition to that, we also put signs up on the roads saying that, when someone pulls into that development, that this road will be paved or is estimated to be paved on these dates, so we can have the double indemnity that not only they get a letter, but a sign that says, hey, we're gonna be out here and doing this work.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
I don't think it's unreasonable
No.
to over-communicate, but I know we're gonna deal with a lot of.
Yeah, how far in advance do you guys know when when it's gonna be paved?
We know a fair time in advance, certainly,
that's
so
the one
plenty
thing.
of time to notify.
Notify, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
They're not going to show up unannounced.
a few complaints, but I think it was, some of the complaints were not during the actual road construction. I think it was some of the touch-up work or getting prepped for it. Maybe, there's some prep work around the sewer basins or whatnot. And we were like, I can't get in my driveway. Like, well, no one told me. So.
I know we can't win them all, but if we can communicate as best we've learned from last year, that's all I'm asking for.
We get a little better every time we do
That's all we want.
Yeah, it's been so long that we've paved that the city seems to have forgotten how to how to deal with it, right?
She was zinger on her first day.
Welcome.
I've been a resident all this time too. Don't forget.
So with that, I do want to welcome Mr. Ventura, Mrs. Brandt. This is her first councilwoman. Miss Brandt. This is the first council meeting, and I look forward to working with them over the next 2 years.
Great. I got one last item that I forgot to mention, and that is the revenue of Mayor's Court for the month of December was $24,154.71. And I want to say that year-to-date, Mayor's Court collected $493,592.33. Over last year, which was a collection of only $460,678.03. So we're up over last year by $32,964.30. And obviously, the kudos really have to go out to the police department, because they're the ones that are out there working the streets and issuing tickets.
All those trash can tickets that were issued.
Yeah, so and we are not what we call a happy city of just going out and ticketing cars on the road. It's just that Macedonia happens to have a lot of traffic. I mean, we have over 60,000 cars a day on 271. We have, at the intersection of 8 and 82, we are at least at 45,000 at that intersection, and I think we're probably up even higher than that at, on a daily count. So we just have a lot of traffic in our community. And ever since both Highland Road and Phase 3 of 82 got completed, it seems like everybody uses Route 82 now to come through from the east to the west. So we got a lot of traffic. So with that, is there any other new business to be dealt with?
I'd also like to welcome Mr. Ventura, Ms. Brand, to the DS. I'd also like to say, if you have your cell phone, Nixel's already talked about the garbage pickup. Thank you, sir.
I'm on it.
He's quick.
How about the parking ban too? That's
Yeah.
It's coming.
You want to overwhelm your audience.
All right, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion's carried. Have everybody, I'm saying, everybody have a great evening. Drive carefully. Stay safe. Don't go out if you don't have to.